I did want to ask if you wanted to do a bit where, like, I act like I hadn't seen it before, or we hadn't done a podcast on it.
Yeah, so this is definitely the most egregiously we've ever broken the rules of the podcast, but I think it fits.
It works as a gimmick.
And we didn't do it last year. It's 2 years in between. So
yes, exactly. Who knows how long it's been? It's impossible to tell. Could have been 10,000 years. That's what some people think.
He learns a lot of skills.
He learns a lot of skills. It can't be quick. We'll get into it. First, let's get into opening the episode. As you guys know, I don't know how to start the podcast. So it'll either be, I'm not sure how much of that we're going to keep, or something along the lines of, welcome to Late to the Movies. My name is Ben Holt, and this is a podcast where my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots. Each week, we'll pick a film that either I or a guest hadn't seen before and really should have by now. This week, the movie, for the first time, for the 10,000th time, who knows? It's Groundhog Day, 1993's Harold Ramis directed, Bill Murray starring movie. I forgot yet. I already used the word movie and film, and I wanted a third one to describe what this is. Picture show. There it is. Feature film. Yeah, that's what we're talking about today. Before we get there, though, my guess, your guess, left or right across your podcast dial or clockwise across your Discord screen. Craig's here producing. Anthony's here talking.
Ben Holt? I thought that was you.
First step's a doozy. Sam's here.
I didn't have a bit ready.
Anthony always has a bit ready.
I'm gonna pretend to choke on steak.
You're like Bill Murray's brother.
Yep.
This month, we are once again returning to not just a theme we've done before, but the very first theme we ever did in February of 2022, which was rom-coms. Groundhog Day we did January 31st that year, and I think sort of it was the closest date that an episode was coming out to Groundhog Day, but also a transition into romantic comedies, which this kind of is. You know what? For the sake of this month's theme, I'm going to say definitely not kind of. It is a romantic comedy.
100% is.
There's other stuff and probably other things we're going to focus on, but yeah, 100%. But yeah, so a few different milestones here that we're revisiting. It's Romcom Month Strikes Back. We got some different rom-coms. It's not just going to be 4 of the same ones we did that time 2 years ago. But I thought for Groundhog Day, it was too funny of an idea for me not to do. That's why I end up with elaborately themed birthday parties as well. Anyway.
That I'm looking forward to, but I won't tease what I'm doing.
What's the theme?
So yeah, the theme is both birds and Larry Bird because I'm turning 33. So.
Wait, Jesus didn't make the cut in this one?
I didn't think about that.
Well, you gotta keep that.
He left out the most important guy, who's died at 33.
To be clear, Larry Bird didn't die. I think.
No, that's true, right? Larry Bird's still alive.
Overall theme.
Those are independent thoughts. Those are 2 independent thoughts.
Yeah. There's tears in my eyes.
I did. I left out the most important guy. My bad. Yeah, entering my Jesus era.
Hopefully not, for your sake.
We'll see. I mean, the way things are going. Pilot's mad at me. You know, it's like
yeah.
It's
Barabas been arrested
against you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hate to see it.
Sacrilege aside. This movie also is potentially not. You know what? I was going to try and transition into how every religion has at least a few people who think this movie is about their religion, but we can't talk about the movie yet. It would have been a perfect transition, but instead I have to ask, what have you guys seen recently?
I've seen one movie recently that I could speak about in between the last movie or the last time I was here.
Yeah, you're on back-to-back episodes, so it is.
Yeah. We saw that Jake Johnson directed movie, Self-Reliance, I think is what it is.
Oh yeah. That's
yes. Yeah. So he I think he directed, wrote, and stars in it. It's basically like the Most Dangerous Game type thing where he's down on his luck and he runs into actual Andy Samberg. It's Andy Samberg playing Andy Samberg. just being like, "Hey, get in the car with me." And he goes and finds two guys that are just like, "Do you want to essentially do the plot of the Most Dangerous Game?" For those that don't know, that's basically you're getting hunted for money as like by humans as a human. Um, and if he survives a month, he gets $1 million. It was one of those movies. I got done with it. I enjoyed it a lot. I felt like it had a lot to say that hadn't, like, like I'm one of those people that I'm just starting to kind of appreciate the like minutia of like satire and stuff and things. I was a dumb movie watcher, shall we say, uh like for most of my life. And I was like, oh, this movie definitely had a point. And I almost feel like I want to watch it again to try to get like a little more of, I think it's mostly Jake Johnson trying to tell a story about not letting, like your life pass you by while having like, the outrageous satirical slash almost like parody plot of like, literally getting hunted out of your comfort zone.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't say it's like crazy good, but it's very quick. I think it's under 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's super fast. It's Lonely Planet too, right? I think Lonely Planet produces it.
Um,
Oh,
Lonely Planet? I'm not familiar with Lonely Planet.
Lonely Island.
Lonely,
Yeah,
Lonely Island.
Lonely
Gotcha.
Island, Lonely Island.
we
That's
knew
it.
what
Yeah,
you meant. We knew what you meant.
I
close enough.
I am enough that I'm just like, Lonely Planet sounds like a cool name for something. So
I think that's a website for like
they're a travel guide.
travel.
Yeah, they're a travel guide
Yeah.
book publisher. So unfortunately,
Oh,
already
books.
taken. Already taken. Can't steal that from my own comedy band slash media.
I think that's a case where those are different enough that you could make a legal argument that they won't be confused.
Yeah, so you
They
have
would
to
sue you.
You have to
So.
pass like the Coke test of like you can't make anything else named Coke because it's too pervasive of an IP.
Yeah.
Versus, I think the most famous one is that there's a Hershey's ice cream company that's not Hershey's chocolate because they got in before Hershey's was so everywhere. But then they started trying to make ice cream that looked too much like the Hershey's logo, and then like a court was like, "We know what you're doing. Stop that! Like, don't do that." So now every Hershey's ice cream thing has to say Hershey's Ice Cream Company, not affiliated with Hershey's chocolate, on it. Fun facts.
That
You'll
is a
find them.
fun fact.
You'll find Hershey's ice cream at crappy gas stations.
Oh, can't wait.
Yep. But yeah, that's the only thing I've seen. I thought it was fine.
It sounds
good
fine.
To find. worth checking out. I love Jake Johnson, so worth checking out if you like Jake Johnson.
Yeah, that's fair. I probably will do the same for the same reason. Nick on New Girl, if in case that's
Yeah, fair.
People who aren't us with our dumb brains.
And Anna Kendrick was pretty good in it, I thought.
Yeah, Anna Kendrick doing Anna Kendrick things. She's kind of in between her like blockbuster movie Anna Kendrick look and her like mumblecore, like sarcastic person. She kind of lands right in the middle, which is like actually kind of refreshing for her. I like Anna Kendrick, but I feel like she kind of just does two things. So it was nice to kind of see her be much more like anxious and like reactionary, kind of.
Yeah, I hear you on that one.
Yeah, I like Anna Kendrick. She's from Maine.
Big Maine.
I feel like she has big Maine energy. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know.
She does have that like I'm super famous, but also from Maine, so like I always have to be at least 30% down to earth.
Kind of down to earth, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you turned that into a more insightful thing that I said.
I hope she's in more stuff. I feel like she stayed in her lane for like 10 years and she got pigeonholed, and I think Into the Woods might have killed her.
In her defense, me and my sister are the only people who went to see Simple Favor in theaters, and she's great in that. And she definitely is like outside of her normal, bailiwick in that one. So
is that the one that she did with the girl from Letterkenny?
Blake Lively?
Nope. Unless I missed some Letterkenny stuff. She did a movie recently with the girl who was I can't remember her name.
It's a Paul Feig movie, post Paul Feig making movies that people see.
Oh.
But I mean Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick, and it's like a dark comedy. It's actually pretty good.
That sounds interesting. I'm surprised that
pretty good. By me. You'd like it. It's weird.
What's it called again?
A Simple Favor. It's 2018, so it's post Ghostbusters Paul Feig, which explains,
I gotcha. Oh, I definitely saw like posters for this, but I completely forgot it existed.
Yes. Yeah, I've never seen it.
pretty good. I'm not like it's not going to change your life, but like,
Yeah.
had a good time.
The movie with the Letterkenny woman that I was thinking of was Alice Darling, which I have not seen, which came out last year, and it's Tanis from Letterkenny. Kano T. I'm gonna mess up her first name, but it's like Kana Tio Horn or something.
Anything else? I don't know, Anthony, if you've seen anything recently. You've been a full month gap between episodes.
Yeah. No, I've seen some off the Academy nominee list.
Sure.
Anatomy of a Fall, I thought was kind of boring, a little overrated.
You did tell me that you fell asleep.
Yeah, I fell asleep.
I'm not to interrupt you, but that was like the only Academy Award movie that I was like, ooh, that one actually seems really fun. So I'm sad.
I mean, a lot of people really like it, but I haven't seen it yet either. So grain of salt.
I wouldn't say it's fun. It's definitely not fun.
Well, yeah, fun might not be the right word, but I love
you can get into it.
The plot seemed very intriguing.
Yeah.
Almost.
I'll give it that. The plot is pretty good, but it's just kind of like I don't know how to. It's kind of boring to me. It was just kind of boring. I found it kind of boring, but yes, it is a pretty good movie. I see why it was nominated, but the better option I think that should win is The Holdovers, and I hope Paul Giamatti wins Best Actor because that was excellent.
It's gone over pretty well in the Oscars Discord server I'm in. We're all having a great time trying to identify the different locations. I know you were excited to see Fairhaven High is one of the many different Massachusetts schools they use as a setting.
Yep.
And then just like generally New England-y stuff happening. And then, I mean, the third act takes place within, 4 or 5 blocks of the State House. So
yeah,
that was cool too. Sam LaGrosse's is in the background of a shot. That made me miss Sam LaGrosse's quite a bit.
The Pleasant Cafe, when they're in the bar and he gets almost beat up by those 2 guys. They're inside the Pleasant Cafe, which is right over here in West Roxbury. And when they're in the gym too, when they're at Barton High in the gym, if you look at when they do like the wide shot of the gym, the banners on the wall are all the Massachusetts academies, like Tabor Academy. I think it's Groton Academy, Deerfield Academy. That was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool reference.
Yeah. Aside from that is a cool reference. Aside from just the stuff that I get, the visceral thrill. Go, oh, I that looks like a place I've been. The performances and the writing in that movie are great too.
Oh yeah, and Paul Giamatti nails it. He hits it out of the park. That was a great film. He should win for that. I know he came short on Cinderella Man for Best Supporting Actor back in the day, but
yeah,
he should definitely win for this.
It's tough. It feels like the Oppenheimer train might just roll through so many different categories, and Cillian Murphy's awesome in that. But Giamatti's awesome in this too. It's tough.
Yeah, but. No, I hear you. I think I mentioned this before. I just have no interest in seeing Oppenheimer. I know I heard it's really good. It probably is really good. Chris Nolan, obviously, but I don't know. Is it Inception? Is it Batman? I don't know. I just who cares? I don't really care about that story. So I hope it doesn't win.
It's pretty up there for me in the Nolan rankings. I really, really liked it quite a bit.
Where would you put it in the Nolan rankings? I'm actually curious because I haven't seen it as well, and I'm more prone to history movies.
Somewhere in the top 4.
Well, okay.
No way is it better than Dark Knight. No way.
I would, at the moment, it's really hard to separate Dark Knight from where I was it came out. I was, I think, a junior in high school and stuff like that just mattered more to me then, I
also think Dark Knight kind of gets hit from being too long in a third act that it wasn't probably originally going to have until Heath Ledger passed away. So
yeah,
I think that would have been a lot tighter of a movie, but it still stands very high.
So I'd probably have the only ones I'd think of putting above it are Memento, Dark Knight, and Prestige.
Oh yeah, a Memento. I'll give you that one. Yeah, that's true.
Memento for sure.
I'm saying,
still above it.
I like Dunkirk a lot too.
That's the thing for me is I actually really like pretty much all of Nolan's movies.
Yeah, I've been waiting to watch Inception with Brie because she's never seen it, and at one point Inception was my favorite movie. It's not anymore, but I haven't seen it in 10 years, so I also think it might be fun to watch it again as an adult, a real adult. I was an adult when I saw it, but I wasn't really.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I hear you on that one. But before we get into the rest of this podcast, can we take a moment of silence for just to bring it? Every episode I'm on is an Arnold connection, but we need a moment of silence for the great Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, legend. More importantly, Dylan from Predator. That's my Arnold connection for the week.
We haven't done Rocky yet, so yeah, that's our connection too. Is Predator?
Action Jackson. Who's going to be Grief now? I don't know.
That sucks. He never felt. I mean, was what 70 something?
72, I think.
Yeah, he still didn't feel that old. I don't know.
It's not, that's young.
Yeah, and the 70s, like when you were a kid, 70s felt like ancient. And then, like, as you get older and you see people in your 70s and you work with people, or your, family members get to be 70, you're like, oh no, that's old for sure, but it's still kicking.
Right.
You still go to the bank by yourself, like he's still doing stuff.
I think he's I just saw him in a commercial like earlier this week. He still looks like Carl Weathers,
Yeah.
So I don't know. We haven't done Happy Gilmore. We'll get there eventually.
He's in the Gronk commercial for the Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's the commercial I saw.
Not to, I like, all due respect to Carl Weathers, RIP and all that. Just a real quick Super Bowl commercial thing. Do you guys see the Paramount one yet? The viral one that's going around early?
No.
I don't want to spoil it, even though it's right off the bat. But like Patrick Stewart throws Arnold from Hey Arnold like a football to Creed's hire or something. Like, it's one of those classic, like, okay, millennials.
What are you saying?
Yeah, no, that's a real thing. That's a real fucking thing. Unless somebody hired a lot of people to trick me.
What are they doing?
No.
They're gonna make a live action Hey Arnold.
So they kind of just have Hey Arnold as a cartoon there, and like Drew Barrymore's there, and like there's other people that are on Paramount, and then Patrick Stewart yells something about like Tua's there, and he's like, I can't throw Hey Arnold, and then Patrick Stewart's like, I'm gonna throw him, and Creed's here for some reason, and I'm just like, yep, okay, I was waiting for when the millennials are in charge of marketing. They are now. They're 100% there.
My God, like, move it, football head. That's my best Drew Barrymore. I don't know. That's what I got.
She's defending Hey Arnold. She's like, you can't throw Arnold, but probably like whinier, like, you can't throw Arnold.
No one ever threw him. It wasn't his thing.
It wasn't. It never was. They actually got Scott Stapp
entirely.
It's a lot. It was still funny. It was one of those things where I was like, I hate that this is working. Oh yeah, Thomas Lennon's in that commercial. Bree just said in the background.
It's really funny that after all that you build to, they got Scott Stapp for this. Like, he's hard to get.
It's more like they're even bothering.
He wasn't doing anything.
Just play Creed. You don't need him.
It's not they got it. They found Scott Stapp for this.
They found him walking around an alleyway, just searching for work.
You can cut that. Obviously, it's just it's all that's been in my head.
A lot of elements in that commercial. It sounds like you throw them all in a pot, add some broth, add a potato. Baby, you got yourself a stew.
There you go. Rip Carl Weathers. Now I got to bring it back.
Yep. Now I have to keep it all because it turned into a Carl Weathers reference. Anyway.
The greatest handshake in action movie history.
Gotta be.
Well, yeah. 100%. Anyway, yeah. So let's talk about the movie that we're here to talk about. Which is, of course, once again, starting off Romcom Month Strikes Back. It is, I forgot for a second, that's why I was vamping. It's Groundhog Day again. So instead of saying whether or not we've seen this movie before, Sam, I've podcasted about this movie before. How about you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We never established if we were going to do that as a bit or not. And then watching this movie, I was like, it's not Bill Murray's bit in this movie. He knows what's going on.
Yeah. So that's why I thought it would make more sense than I did. But yeah, no, we podcasted about this 2 years ago.
Yep. Anthony, you haven't before, though, I assume.
I have not.
There you go. So
but
it counts.
I've seen this about 100 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most people have. But like I said, I think it's a specific situation. I suppose in that case, is it any of us could do a 1-minute plot summary? You're both usually the guy that does it on your respective episodes, but Anthony might have something prepared, so I want to give him that opportunity.
No, I'll leave it to Sam. I don't have something prepared. I messed that up.
Jeez, I wasn't ready either. I was really happy to hear like, oh, what if we just throw it to Ben? What if we make Ben do it?
That's fine.
Yeah,
it's weird. We're topsy-turvy here.
I listened back to our episode, and Cade actually did it on that one, so I actually didn't even do it last time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do it though. Sure.
But, yeah. Start the clock.
Oh no, I already messed up because in my head I went Weatherman Phil Collins. It's like that could be his name.
It's a lot different movie.
From Genesis is he works for a Pittsburgh weather station. And he's once a year dreads an assignment where he has to go to Punxsutawney to cover Groundhog Day from Gobbler's Knob. And he hates it so much, he's like kind of a dick for the most of the movie. But then he has to start reliving Groundhog Day over and over again. He's confused at first, but then he starts using it to his advantage. Then he gets depressed and kills himself a bunch of times. Then he starts making the most of it. He at all times is manipulating people against their will. We will discuss whether or not that's ethically gray or just ethically bad, just without qualifiers. We'll see what happens. It's romantic. Andie MacDowell's here too. That's all I got. I'm done.
Good for them. I hope you keep me just saying good for them without context.
In this movie, Andie MacDowell. So is Chris Elliott, Bill Murray, we mentioned earlier, but not in the plot summary. Bill Murray's brother, Stephen Tobolowsky, memorably in it as well.
And that's basically it. Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon?
Yeah.
Who loves WrestleMania?
He loves WrestleMania.
He loves WrestleMania in Pittsburgh, which I don't think WrestleMania has ever been.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
And Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis does have a cameo.
Oh, and also I noticed this time, but not last time, the psychiatrist is, I can't think of the actor's name. He's like a character actor in comedies a lot.
Well, as you can tell, we've prepared fully for this episode.
Yeah, fully. He's in Veep. He is Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character's husband who like constantly cheats on her.
Oh, absolutely. That guy has such a you said that I'm immediately
his name's like
that's his face.
I want to say David Pasquale, but I think that's someone else.
That you're thinking of the robot chicken who makes pizza for Chuck E. Cheese.
I am. It's David Pasquesi. I was close. I saw what you did there. I burned through it. You're still laughing at yourself over there.
It's a good one. I just don't know if he's a chicken or not. I couldn't get there fast enough, but it's okay. No, he's just a guy.
God damn it.
He's just a guy who hangs out with a big rat. That's even worse.
It's like Alvin and the Chipmunks type situation.
We're off base.
Is Michael Shannon credited in this? No.
I don't think he is.
Yeah. Oh, he is. Never mind.
No, he is. Yeah.
Coming back in 3.
I mean, he'd be very low down the cast list. He's in 2 scenes and has a total of like 5 lines.
He was literally like 19. It was actually, I looked that up earlier. Kind of crazy how young he was.
Yeah. So we're kind of vamping, but we should talk more to Anthony. I know you've seen this 100 times, but we talked about this last time. Some of the stuff we did talk about last time. I know we touched on Harold Ramis and Bill Murray's broken relationship. Bill Murray, I think just yesterday, as we're recording this, dedicated Harold Ramis Day in Punxsutawney. So, a little maybe too late to some. But hey, anyway, we talked a lot about that and Ramis in general, because I think this was our first Ramis thing that we did. It might have been our first Murray thing also.
That sounds...
Let me ask you guys a question. Let me ask you guys a question now. Do you ever feel like you have deja vu?
Didn't you just ask me that?
It's good stuff. So, Anthony, over 100 times feels like safe to say one of your favorite movies?
This is right up there. One of I think top 7 movies of my lifetime.
I normally wouldn't ask, but that was such a specific number. So what is the 7?
Do I have it listed? I'm not sure I could list them out, but
you don't have to rank them, but like just what else is in the conversation? I'm curious.
Oh, Casablanca, The Dark Knight, Top Gun, Maverick.
Yeah. Okay. Specifically Maverick.
And I got to fill out the other three. Maverick. I think Maverick is better than the original.
I agree. Actually, it's fun. It's good. I just love that Glenn Powell. What a jaw.
Parasite's up there. But I think this movie just hits all. I feel it hits all the high notes. It has a perfect script. It's got a perfect setup. I think Harold Ramis nails it out of the park. It has a good flow to it. It's a very easy watch, and has a very redeeming. Bill Murray is an unlikable character, but he redeems himself at the end, even though it's questionable methods. But it's a really heartwarming story.
I found myself feeling similarly as I did a couple years ago when we watched it for the podcast, which was it takes a while to kind of get cooking for me, but once they're in the loop, it becomes like such an easy watch. And I really like the structure of it, and it has so many of the laughs or the stuff I find funny isn't necessarily jokes, but it's how cleverly edited it is, with scenes that restart halfway through, and you just kind of pick up on, okay, so the rest of the day's been the same up to this point, but he's just trying a couple different variables to try and get a different result.
Exactly.
And I like all that stuff. The middle part of the movie, I feel like the flow is pretty untouchable.
Right. And watching it again and again, you sort of pick up on different aspects of the film that maybe you don't pick up before. Like, for example, when he first walks past the homeless person before he meets Needle Nose Ned, there's a woman walking behind him in the street with a sign that says Phil, but it's upside down, as if like Phil's having an upside down day. And I found that very interesting.
Yeah, there's little touches like that all around. I think once the loop starts, when he's in the cafe, all the clocks are stopped. If you can make them out on the wall behind him, yeah. So there's all stuff like that all over the place in this. And yeah, are you a big Bill Murray guy?
I mean, Ghostbusters, Groundhog Day, Scrooge. Lost in Translation is terrible.
Oh. Okay.
This is a new podcast all of a sudden. I'm just going to mute myself, but you guys can hash
No. It's cool. No, when stuff like that comes up, it's more just like
you gotta have a little diversity.
Got a little diversity. You can be on that episode. We could talk about it then. When we do Sophia Month.
I thought isn't it Romcom Month? Lost in Translation.
That's more just dramedy, Rom-coms, I feel like you want them to be you want the com to be more. You don't want them to be sad, I think. I think ScarJo's great in that. She's also like 17 in that, so it's weird.
Yeah. Well, you guys did Groundhog Day before.
You dead in your tracks while you were talking about Murray. My fault.
No, what? Caddyshack.
Yeah,
is a good film, but also a little overrated. Well, not that it's overrated. The film just doesn't make any sense, as you guys talked about on that podcast.
Quite aggressively goes out of its way to not make sense because it bent to the whims of its stars, who demanded more screen time and plot lines. Which
it's more like a series of skits, not to the degree that like Monty Python and the Holy Grail is, but yeah, it's all over the place.
Though I will know. Yeah, go ahead. I got nothing.
I was gonna say, I love Bill Murray, his roles in the vast majority of the Wes Anderson movies that he's in. I love him in Kingpin. I love him in What About Bob? So I have a hot take on Lost in Translation, but otherwise, yeah, I like Bill Murray.
Okay. I haven't run into him at Patty's Pierogies or at any of the random southern New England haunts that he ends up in seemingly a couple times a year, but he's around sometimes too, which I appreciate.
He owns a minor league baseball team on Cape, right? Or he owns one in South Carolina, something like that. They play up here a lot. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, that sounds very. I know he's always in Charleston, South Carolina too, like photobombing people's wedding photos and shit. So that would make sense. Okay. In this movie, though, he starts like he's just the worst guy. And I think that's why up until the loop starts happening and he's like on his back heels, he's to be that sort of repulsive of a dude. He's also like very self-assured. And so I kind of need that to get taken away from him before I start like kind of getting into it, you know, because that guy just sucks for a while.
To a degree that it's not even really a fun movie. Like I still like the movie, but like the beginning is tough.
Yeah. And to be fair, it's not like people think he's funny. Everyone's like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
No one likes being around him.
I think in the last podcast you had a line, or someone had a line, this is the least likable Bill Murray's been in a film ever, is like the first 10 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, that's probably true. And like obviously setting up a contrast with where he ends up at the end of the movie. Yes. So that, which is important. I think it's also important that he and Andie MacDowell's character Rita, they set up in the beginning of the movie that they haven't worked together before, because it's hard to imagine someone who's known him for more than just the drive to Punxsutawney that morning coming around to who he is by the end of that day, you know?
Yep.
Or I guess the next day, because they sleep over the night before after the drive. One thing I did. Yeah, go ahead for it. Go for it.
It's maybe it's too on the nose because Bill Murray is known as sort of a curmudgeon and kind of a jerk in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Even to Dan Aykroyd called him the Hurricane because of his famous mood swings, and he's, you know, obliterated cast members before, and even I think it's some allegations of some other things that go on in his life too.
Yeah, I believe he was removed from Asteroid City in the role that Tom Hanks ended up playing. I could have that wrong, but it was something like that. And for like Wes Anderson to not want to work with Bill Murray, there's stuff. I don't know if it's explicitly ever been, you know, put out.
Right.
And I was going to say, I was taking a drink of water, so I missed this great joke when you said like, yeah, he's tough to work with. I was going to say, just ask Harold Ramis' CGI ghost from the latest Ghostbusters film.
He quit. He quit mid ghost scene.
Gross. Stop doing that, Hollywood. That man's dead. Let him rest. Anyway, that movie sucked. Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom out soon.
Frozen Kingdom.
Sorry, Frozen Empire, because they're in New York, the Empire State.
I hadn't even heard that there was a new one coming out with the subtitle.
It's called Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and you have to take it seriously.
Oh my god. Is it another
like
Paul
a Disney? No, it's a Disney cross with Elsa in the movie Frozen.
I'd be more excited about that.
It's let's just say, based on where it looks like this movie is going, let's just say it looks like they let Aykroyd take a crack at the script. So,
all right,
they're taking the ghost and supernatural stuff very seriously.
So, Dan, I paused to have any comments on Dan Aykroyd because I'm not exactly sure where he is on a
what
mental
dimension
health
he's
level.
even in right now. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm at least interested. You know.
Well,
that makes it more interesting.
I mean, that's a man who's harnessed the power of crystal skulls to produce vodka, and you really just can't argue with that kind of business model.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Kumail's in it. That could be nice.
Nice. Finn Wolfhard, I assume, still.
Yes.
Looks like he comes back.
Yep. Looks everyone else is the same.
Did you guys watch the last Ghostbusters movie? Just as long as we're talking about Ramis.
Mm-hmm. I did not.
Yeah.
I heard from you that it was bad.
The Ghostbusters
the
Afterlife. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
Were you kind of off put by like a posthumous Ramis character use? Is that he abandoned his family and left them to like poverty and shit? And that's like the setup of the movie. This guy was a fucking deadbeat. It's like,
yeah,
dedicated to the memory of Harold Ramis. Like, okay, cool. That guy seemed like a stand-up guy before that. No, it just seems like a shitty thing to do to a guy's character who seemed like a normal guy in the previous Ghostbusters films. I don't know.
Well, I mean, no, I hear you on that. It's kind of a crappy way to set up the premise of the film, because then they gift him the house with all the artifacts in it and the car. So you have to get there at some point, but that's just how they chose to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. This movie, though, so he's there. He's in Punxsutawney. He does the stuff. He goes to bed. He wakes up. It's the same day. Man, oh man, what a conundrum. I'm sure we asked this last time, but what's the move? So he goes through a few different cycles of testing it out, taking advantage just to have, fun and do what he wants, being depressed and killing himself repeatedly, and then eventually like making the most of it and like helping people. What's the move? Where do you go first if this starts happening to you?
First, you have to try to figure out how to get out of there. So if that's what's 100%. The way to get out? Yeah. And yeah. I feel like what Sam had said earlier about the self-reliance film, this film is also kind of about not letting life pass you by and making the most out of life, making the most out of your experiences, and just trying to be a good person. Right. So I think it's similar. So yeah, I'm trying to do that first.
Yeah, I agree. And if you watched Palm Springs as well, which is a similar time loop movie, it's more recent with Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti. Kristen Milioti. I think they do it more from her perspective. I think she immediately is like, we got to get out of here. I think that would kind of be my same thing, is you just start poking at stuff.
Yeah.
Especially if there's nothing driving it, like in either of those movies, you don't have like an omnipotent like force telling you like, oh, like this is what you have to do to get out of here, or like you're in here because of this. Like he doesn't know it's to learn a lesson, or if it's just something. So
that's true.
I wouldn't start trying to like kill myself until I think I was really, really, really upset with the situation. I think it would take me a long time to get there because I'd be too worried about actually dying.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most people would probably be like, this is some kind of test, or maybe this is some kind of test and I have to do one perfect day living life to the fullest. And then maybe if that didn't work, you'd go to the depression stage.
Yeah. My first stage, I think, would be to stay up as long, which is, I think, what Andy Samberg says in Palm Springs.
They do that for sure in Palm Springs.
Yeah. They try. Like, because he says his worst days are the days where he's in the hospital because something messed up happened and he's like kept awake for like 72 hours or something in pain and then falls asleep and wakes up.
What?
But
no, that's a good point.
Go ahead.
I'll take my answer back. Maybe the first day I rob a bank, just see what that feels like. Then try to figure out a way out of there.
I thought about this while he was doing it. How much of you would be worried that this was the one that stuck when you were doing stuff like that? Because they have the one on the train tracks where he wakes up and he's literally pumped up about it. Because he's like, okay, thank God that wasn't the one.
Is that the one where he's like asks the person in charge of the bed and breakfast, like, did any cops come, or was that the one after he robs the bank?
Oh, I think it's that one.
Yeah, but I'd be doing the same thing. Like, yeah, was anyone looking for me? Any state employees with blue hats, night six guns?
And she says, "No, are they?"
Yeah, it's interesting in that movie too because you can't like they specifically frame it so he can't go anywhere. You'd obviously want that to happen on like a day you had off or a day you didn't have something like important or annoying to do.
Yes.
Because like theoretically, like if he on the days that he doesn't go, and assuming like there's a lot of them that he doesn't go to work, like they're going to be looking for him. Like they're going to probably be like they're probably going to tell the cops to find like he can't just chill in his hotel room. Like so.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he mentioned some days he would have preferred it to happen on for sure.
Yeah.
But isn't kind of the plot of this movie though? He falls in love with Rita.
Yep.
The first day, like they get the Punxsutawney, and he falls in love with her, and then the lesson learned is you can't be a jerk your whole life, or else you won't get the girl.
Yeah, especially if you're taking it from the perspective of when he tries, and this is actually something that I think mirrors kind of my real life. When I tried in my youth, especially in like high school, to like get a girl's attention or stuff, I messed up real bad. But I feel like when I just lived my life and was myself, it worked a lot better. which like I don't
Right.
think Bill Murray's being himself at the end of that movie, but like
Sure.
he's not going after her. He is just doing good stuff around the town, and
Right.
then it
Yes.
happens. She gets enamored by how interesting and cool he is versus
Right.
him learning all the shit about her and just creepily repeating it over and over again.
No,
Right.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. It only works when other people tell her how, great he is. And most of the movie, he's positioning himself to be the one telling her that he's great, and that never works.
Yep.
Yeah. Even if she like is intrigued for a bit, ultimately it just never actually ends up working for him.
It is interesting to me how much of a difference it is, because like I feel like early on he's like it seems like he's kind of forever failed into she doesn't, she likes things to move slow. Like it just feels that way, because like every time he mentions them being like, I'm in love with you, she's like, what are you talking about? Anytime he wants her to stay the night, she's just like, I don't think that's a good idea. So it's really just until he becomes like a whirlwind of like awesomeness, for lack of a better term, like that she's just kind of swept into it.
Right. I think that's a good point. I think it's tough and kind of, because, well, actually I guess it's not, because when it ends up that she kind of falls back in love with him, it is on that last day where it's not because he knows stuff about her and French poetry or whatever. And I guess it's a little bit because he does know that she likes men who play instruments, but she just appreciates that everyone in town is thanking him for stuff, and he seems like he's been nice to everybody, right?
Yep.
So I guess that's a good message if you take that part of it, I feel like.
When the old ladies are hitting on him, he says, "Oh, they've been hitting on me all night." How do they know you only been in town you only come to town once a year?
we did talk about that too, how the fact that there's a lot of people who theoretically would have had like a 5-minute interaction with him all day that are acting like he's the best friend like they've ever had. Like the woman at the diner that's like, like, I got $10 that says you're mine. It's like, okay, so in the day that he pitched a perfect game, he probably just was nice to her in the diner and left.
Yeah. Well, everyone knows all of the stuff he's done, I guess. But yeah, he's had that day especially. I mean, he's had at most about 45 seconds to a minute 30 with all these people, because he has to keep moving.
There's a thought that
he's on a tight schedule.
Yeah. There's a thought that I thought of that I don't think I brought up in the last time, because we talked about this phenomenon last time, so I don't want to rehash too much. But I think that there's a little bit of discussion about how like especially from Andie MacDowell's perspective, where like there's some sort of like part of them that remembers all of it. Like it's not a conscious thought, but like Andie MacDowell kind of like at times is kind of alluding to the fact that she feels like she knows him better than she does. So like there might be some part of like the, quote, for lack of a better term, a soul, that is getting affected by each one of these loops.
Okay.
Even if it's not, but like I don't think they drill into that. I think it's more likely that Harold Ramis just had a fun line that he wanted to say, because Andie MacDowell's character does seem a bit spiritual. So it doesn't seem weird that she would say something. And I wish I remember what the actual line was, but it was something like that, where she's like, I feel like I know you better than I, than I should, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, she says, don't you feel like, do you believe in deja vu? Don't you feel like deja vu or something like that?
True. They do have that. And then didn't you just ask me that line?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think.
But Ben, you said it takes you a long time to get into this movie, but right off the bat, it's hilariously funny when Needle Nose Ned shows up, and that whole
I do like the Tobolowsky stuff.
The best joke in the film.
I'm all in on the Tobolowsky shit.
That's got to be his breakout movie, right? Like, I think we talked about him last time. I don't want to go too hard, but like he's been doing the same thing for decades. It's all good, don't get me wrong, but it's all Ned Ryerson, and I feel like he just found his like corner that he's like, oh, I do this very well, so I'm just gonna do this with like little hooks the whole time.
Yeah,
if that were me, I would be Ned Ryerson the rest of my life.
Yeah, every time he shows up in a movie or show, I'm happy. I'm excited.
Exactly.
Like he's He's on a whole. I mentioned it last time. We watched the One Day at a Time remake that they made for Netflix, and he's in it as like a kind of like the fifth or sixth person in, and he's just playing like I think he's like a doctor or a dentist, just doing Tobolowsky stuff, and it's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he writes like he also writes a little bit. He wrote True Stories, the David Byrne movie, so that's good.
They had a documentary about his birthday, which I've never seen, but it sounds fun.
Yeah.
No way.
Oh yeah. It's like a tongue-in-cheek documentary about how like he's always a side character, and now his birthday's about him. Like
it's fun.
It was nice. Like 2005. I've never even heard of it. I just saw it yesterday when I was looking into it. And I was like, oh, I gotta watch that. That's
really fun. I like that.
The town. This if you watch Schitt's Creek and Roland Shit is in it, but this town really feels like it is Schitt's Creek, right? Yeah, I don't know. I compared Puxatawny to Schitt's.
They do, yeah. They do look pretty similar, like just as towns. And Chris Elliott's there, like you said, so that makes
and
it
even the
easy to confuse
yokels, like the residents in the town, are a bunch of yokels.
Yeah, Ned Ryerson would fit right in either place.
Yeah, he'd be Schitt's Creek insurance salesman.
Mm-hmm.
He'd make that weird cat noise at the end.
Yeah, that's uncalled for. I don't like that he does that.
He nails it though. It's really uncomfortable. I was trying to think. There was something else that came up this time that was like, I was like, I think I've seen this movie 3 or 4 times. I forgot about the whole side plot with the trying to keep the homeless person alive.
Oh, really? I feel like that one's pretty burned in the brain because that's like sort of the downest part. You know?
I know. I don't know why it didn't. There were there was a lot of other stuff. I think basically everything. I remember him going after Nancy at the beginning very methodically, and a bunch of other stuff. But because
he tries to think that keeping the homeless guy alive is the right thing to do, but the point is for the homeless guy to die happy.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And some people just, it's just like their time as
which is what she keeps saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Still sad though.
It is sad, and it's I don't know. I mean, it's not as jarring of a difference as like the Clint Eastwood movie going scene is, but it is a bit.
That one that's one that I had forgotten.
We mentioned it last time where you were like, I think we agreed that he just had this bit and he just basically forced Harold Ramis to do it.
Oh yeah, that sounds correct.
Like he refused to do that scene in any other way.
You said it was a costume party.
I like when Nancy walks by and he's just like,
"Call me Bronco."
Yeah. She doesn't remember me.
Yeah. No, it's a funny quotable movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I mean, it's a silly movie to sort of like narrow down, plot by plot point. But we haven't talked about him stealing the groundhog yet. I
do love. I love all the bits in the car so much. Check your corners, or check your mirrors. Like, don't drive angry.
Yeah. I guess both of the times that he's driving a car towards Doom with the 2 drunk guys, and then also with the groundhog, are both have a lot of quotes in them.
Yeah.
But obviously the one with the groundhog is the famous one where he actually has to have a groundhog. And I think, as we said last time, that groundhog was not easy to work with.
No. Very cute groundhog.
Yeah. It's fun when he's behind the wheel.
It's just a big rat.
It is. That is true.
And
rats are already pretty big, but this one's bigger.
There's something about large rodents. I don't know. They just look they look like they're constantly scheming, but in positive ways.
Yeah.
Like, they don't look like they're scheming to ruin your day. They just look like they're scheming like, that's what they were born to do. They are
always just very close to like tenting their fingers. So I think that's why.
Which is, it's definitely part of it.
Classic Mr. Burns pose.
Yeah. Mr. Burns pose is extremely fidgety at all times. So
yeah. Yes.
Unless you're a capybara, then you're just the chillest thing that's ever existed.
Yeah, man. They're just roly-poly bowies. Just push them right into the river. They love it.
They do.
Well, what do you think? What do you think is a better name? Is Puxatawny Phil the best name for the groundhog, or is Woodstock Willie a better name for the groundhog?
Woodstock Willie just feels a little try hard. I don't know. I think he's trying too much, and I don't like to see the sweat on these rodents. So that's how I feel.
That's true. That's true. Because the film is filmed in Woodstock, Illinois.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
I don't think I knew that. I guess I always assumed.
Did we cover that last time? We might not have.
I don't remember covering that last time.
Yeah.
But I might have just forgot. I didn't listen to the whole podcast. I didn't have time.
I didn't at all. So you're ahead of me. I thought it would just be like I'd be too in my head about, no, we did that last time. And, I just wanted to flow.
I just didn't want to make the same points because I was glad. I forgot which one it was, but there were a couple times where I was like, oh, I got to make sure I talk about this. And I listened to the podcast back. I was like, oh, I did. Okay, cool.
But that's it's Groundhog Day. That's the point.
Yeah, that is kind of the fun of it, isn't it?
That was also like, if it does happen, I'm fine with it because of that. And we can say it was on purpose.
I was hoping I did the plot summary and I was just word for word do the same plot summry, but I didn't. So I didn't think it was fun.
So you would have had a bit planned. That's good.
I did, but when Kay did it, I was like, I don't want to do Kay's thing because no one would get it.
Right. No, and like I didn't listen back, so I wouldn't have picked up on it.
Yeah.
One thing that I did pick up on this time. So as he becomes more chill and becomes like a better person, he sounds more like Garfield.
Now I feel like I have to watch it again.
By the end of the movie, he's just doing Garfield.
He's much more calm and confident.
His tone becomes very disaffected.
Yes.
And very Garfield. And I know he later played Garfield twice.
By mistake.
According to him, but he did it twice. And
I mean, that
met the guy at that point. It is a great story.
I love the story that he just got a script from the Coen bro, like a Joel Coen, and thought it was the Coen brothers, and it was some other Joel Coen.
Right. And when we did a Garfield episode, we did it's the Great Turkey Charlie Brown or whatever his Thanksgiving special is named. And we did Garfield's Terrible Day. It's Thanksgiving. Garfield's owner John is a pervert and it's Thanksgiving, and that's the theme of that episode. We said like, oh, Lorenzo Music's just doing a Bill Murray thing. I've never picked up on this before, but it's so obvious watching a Garfield short for the first time in my 30s. He's just doing a Bill Murray thing. And now I'm watching Bill Murray and I'm like, maybe he's doing a Garfield thing. Maybe we owe Lorenzo Music an apology.
I'll start drafting the letter.
Hell, you have to send it to heaven.
Oh.
He's up there with CGI Harold Ramis.
Okay, oh my God, this is... I typed in Lorenzo Music just because I was curious, and it just had a big picture of...
Garfield.
A big picture of... No, it had a big picture of Ghostbusters.
Why?
I don't know. Type in Lorenzo Music into Google. The first picture is Dave Coulier admits replacing Lorenzo Music on the real Ghostbusters.
Oh my God.
He finally admitted it. We've been tracking this story for years.
Finally, Lorenzo's cleared. Justice for Lorenzo.
Justice for Lorenzo.
And his legal last name is Music? That's impossible.
Right. His legal last name is Music, but his first name isn't Lorenzo.
So it's Gerald.
Gerald Music?
Nice. Gerald Music.
We got cut off.
What a great name.
Yeah, this is a great name. I'm going to make a bunch of Lorenzo Music references for the next 20 minutes, and you can't stop me.
I give this movie 5 Lorenzo Musics.
What?
Anyway, it sounds like Garfield more and more throughout the movie.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that.
He just kind of starts talking like
also,
this.
You kind of hinted at this already, but Garfield's also a terrible Bill Murray movie.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not going to fight you on that one. I don't think.
Or does that even count? Yeah.
Oh, it counts. I bet he wishes it wouldn't. But it counts. Do we want to get into ratings?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. On a scale of 0.5 to 5, on any scale you're choosing aside from stars going up by halves, what would you give Groundhog Day?
Sam, you can go first.
I will give. I forgot what I gave it the first time. I assume I gave it a 5. It's definitely a 4, 5, or a 5 for me. I'm gonna just say 5. And I'm gonna say 5. Oh no, I got a vamp. Good thing this will get cut in post.
Lorenzo Musics.
I can't get it out of my head. Lorenzo's stuck in my head. I will give it 5 Miss Walsh's English classes out of 5.
Nice.
Pretty good.
I give this film 5 toaster ovens in a bathtub out of 5.
Oh, so close. I was looking on. We weren't doing ratings last time.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. Or the earliest one I have down is Draft Day from April 2022.
Perfect. No notes.
So I don't think we were doing ratings yet.
We might have said them, but not letterbox.
Yeah, that's also possible. Now I got mad all over again because I am looking at the page where Kyle gave Nightmare on Elm Street 1 out of 5. So now I'm mad. Because where does he get his powers? Okay, whatever. It's Freddy Krueger. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm going to give Groundhog Day 4.5 first steps that are a doozy out of 5.
There you go.
Nice.
We got there.
What's your favorite quotable line from the film?
You can't really use it out of context, but my favorite delivery is probably the really excited time that Murray receives Ned Ryerson, and then punches him in the face.
Yeah.
It's great.
I really like that. I like the Phil Connors. I love the first step doozy. It's all that stuff.
All the Tobolowsky stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
No, I agree with you guys. He's the best character in the film. But my favorite quote is when he's real in the throes of depression, and he's like, "You want a prediction about the weather? You're asking the wrong Phil. It's going to be cold. It's going to be gray, and it's going to last the rest of your life." I'd love to see a weatherman in real life just do that once on the weather.
I love it.
I also like. I know you said it already earlier, Ben, but I do love when he says driving on the train tracks or whatever. And the drunk guy goes, "I actually agree with that one."
Yeah.
That one is.
Or that's one I do agree with.
Yeah. All right, cool. We haven't established yet what the Romcom Month Strikes Back question will be to tie everything together. I was thinking, the fallback is always, what's your favorite X genre movie, right? And this being Romcom Month, what's your favorite rom-com? You could also go like, who are your favorite rom-com people? Are you a Sandy? You a Sandra Bullock guy or a Julie Roberts guy? You can't be both. You got to pick.
I like that question of like if you could like cast the perfect rom-com between two people, who would it be?
Yeah. Age agnostic, so it can be 90s Julia Roberts if you want.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Okay, so this month's question, putting you in the casting director's chair, what would you consider the perfect cast for a rom-com? And you can pick them from any era of their movie stardom. But yeah, and you don't have to do like the full supporting cast or whatever, but I guess do the leads, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it is people who have done many movies. Maybe it is like Hugh Grant and Sandra Bullock, but that's fine too.
I had a weird thought in my head, and I don't know if this will work. I'd love to have seen what a Adam Sandler, Meg Ryan rom-com would look like.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. I really like a lot of Meg Ryan rom-coms. I'm not crazy about
So
Adam
is it
Sandler's
like,
rom-coms, but
is it like young Sandler with peak Meg Ryan? Is that the idea?
I guess. I guess you could maybe age Meg. Maybe you could like if we're time bending, maybe we get like a 80s Meg Ryan and like a I'd say early 2000s Adam Sandler
Okay.
would
Yeah.
kind of be my vibe. They're not that up far apart in age, I don't think, but they hit their peaks at way different times.
Right. Yeah. So he would be like pretty young.
Yeah. I don't know if that would be my favorite, but that was just like two names that popped in my head that just was like, what would that look like? That's interesting.
Both pretty high energy, you know?
Yeah, very high energy. It would definitely be one of the they hate each other at the beginning and then they start liking each other later. Like I guess I'm picturing like you do when Harry Met Sally, but instead of being an arrogant prick, it's just like some guy going "Hizzy woozy holy ho" the whole time. So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'd go like cross generations. Like I'd go for like a Cary Grant or Errol Flynn, Humphrey Bogart with a modern female lead from today, like Sandra Bullock or Emma Stone or something like that.
Yeah, you said Bogart, and my first thought was Emma Stone.
That would be I would like that. I am unfortunately picturing Errol Flynn trying to like take Drew Barrymore on like a pirate ship and her just be like, "Oh no,
yeah, right.
No, thank you."
But Errol Flynn's in a great rom-com called It Happened One Night. I highly recommend.
Oh yeah, it's a great pick.
I still haven't seen that. And did that Grand Slam the Oscars? Is that one of the ones that did?
I think it's. I know just because Oppenheimer almost got the record for noms. So All About Eve was one of the other ones that got 14 noms. Oppenheimer got only 13. And I think
it won.
Titanic maybe got 14.
I don't know about noms, but it did win Best Picture, Director, Actor, Actress, and Writing.
Okay.
So
yeah, there you go.
It's them, Cuckoo's Nest, and Silence of the Lambs are the only other ones that have done that.
Or even to the reverse of like a modern day male lead with an old school like Ingrid Bergman or Rita Hayworth, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's fun.
About Ingrid Bergman.
That's where my mind went to, was like crossing generations.
Yeah, for me the two greatest rom-coms, well, the two best on-screen chemistry is Bergman and Bogart in Casablanca, and they hated each other in real life. And then Swayze and Jennifer Grey in Dirty Dancing, who couldn't stand each other filming that whole movie. And no one liked Patrick Swayze because he was such a jerk, and he was such a jerk to her. But the on-screen chemistry is just so good.
It is good.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame Cary Elwes didn't get more of a rom-com runway.
Yeah.
I feel like he could have crushed there, and he got Princess Bride, which like isn't really even a rom-com, but it is and it isn't.
It was on the short list for like if we want to do, non-standard rom-coms this month, but I think we're keeping it more traditional.
What would be the worst? I know we can cut that, but I'm just curious. Like Zooey Deschanel and Matthew McConaughey, worst two you can do.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That would be a terrible film.
That's such a bad movie.
I thought, I don't know, I was going to say Jonah Hill and whoever he was starring opposite of in the Eddie Murphy movie that came out last year.
So that movie wasn't good, but it had fun. I did watch that movie. I did watch that movie. It had fun moments, but boy, does Jonah Hill just a very unenjoyable person in that
movie. Matthew McConaughey would be like, "Time is a flat circle," and Zooey Deschanel would just be singing some dumb song.
Well, if you think so.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh, there you go again. There are the people that do accurate Zooey Deschanel impressions like send me to a horrible place.
Yeah. It's just not good.
I love New Girl. New Girl's great. I misinterpreted 500 Days of Summer in college, and I loved that movie for a while.
You know what a lot of guys did?
No, it's hilarious because they talk about misunderstanding The Graduate in that movie, which is the same thing. The guy called his shot and then he did it. But I'm fine with that movie now. I had a bell curve of liking it for the wrong reasons, hating it for the right reasons, then liking it again for the audacity.
Yeah.
The audacity.
But her character sucks in that. They both suck. That's the whole point.
Right. They're tough. And then back when the AV Club could produce culturally relevant things, the Manic Pixie Dream Girl archetype that she embodies in that movie.
Yep.
You know, it's a thing. It was a thing in indie movies for a long time.
It was. They had some good shots. And what's his face? Christina Hendricks' ex-husband is there doing fun stuff. So
I immediately thought about Mad Men and that the soldier guy who's like really shitty to her character, and it's like, oh, you mean the real person.
It's the guy in Super Troopers that eats the weed in the backseat.
Oh, I got you.
Jeffrey Arend. He's also in The Ringer. He's the one that yells, "When the fuck did we get ice cream?"
Yeah, those are good picks. I would try and match Channing Tatum with somebody who I don't know, really broad, but anyone who dances, because someone should dance with that man.
Oh, like maybe
no one has.
Do you go to what's her face? Fred Astaire.
Magic Mike's movie? The Magic Mike movies. He's always dancing on women.
Yep.
His dance scene in Hail Caesar is just with other dudes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let that boy dance with a lady.
Have that dude spin Grace Kelly like a top.
Yeah.
Could be great.
He's very successful. He seems like he's had a career that he's probably very happy with, but talk about guys born at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because that skill set is not used.
With like Demi Moore. I think that'd be
I like
a good
that.
match.
I think that would work out a lot. I think that would work out very well.
Because if you're saying Tatum's born in the wrong time, so to speak, he's kind of overshadowed, but I think he's an otherwise pretty good actor, and I think he'd fit right in that sort of Brat Pack era.
Yeah, I agree. I also just love the concept of putting Channing Tatum as he is in like Step Up, like just direct, like Pleasantville style, just plopping him in like 50s. So you have like just some like woman who was like 20 in the 50s just being like, well, that sounds swell, I'd love that, Pa. And then like Channing Tatum from like 2002 shows up with no shirt and she literally just says, oh fuck.
Celebrities born in 1930
include
Gene Hackman.
Okay, well, not him.
Oh my God, that's right, he's still alive. He's like 98 years old.
He's not looking so hot.
Tippi Hedren.
I could do I think Tippi Hedren and Channing Tatum would be a very interesting movie.
Yeah, Gina Rowlands, maybe.
Tippi Hedren could finally be matched with someone who didn't look like he was 64 years old.
Clint Eastwood?
Nope.
Connery? It's mostly men that were born in 1930, according to these lists.
Yeah, well.
Robert Loggia?
Robert Loggia.
All right, what if we max Robert Loggia?
All right, I needed to get to a funny one before we could stop.
Robert Loggia and Meg Ryan.
Looks like Loggia killed, so it's good.
When you think of Robert Loggia, you think leading man in a rom-com.
I do, certainly.
He's in big.
He's there.
He's there.
Anyway,
I feel bad that he's just a Family Guy punchline for like most millennials.
Yeah,
I think that's it. I mean, it was a very funny Family Guy bit. Family Guy has a few.
Yeah, they got a few. Anyway, how do we get out of that?
We don't. What was our best one? What do we think the best one was? I really like Demi Moore and Channing Tatum. I thought that was sick.
That just makes sense.
It does, and like he's a soldier, of course, and she's like has some very important job that's either military or not, depending. I don't want to make it too much like G.I. Jane. But...
Yeah.
His head's way more the shape of a jar than Gyllenhaal's.
Yeah, missed opportunity for him. Gyllenhaal had a weird career. Like, you could just put the period there, but I was kind of meaning towards the beginning. But
remains so. Apparently,
Yeah.
he just production just shut down on one of his movies because he was being too erratic.
oh wow, who'd have thought?
Yeah,
He's like the only person in the world that wants to be like Jared Leto.
I know. Just be you, dude.
Yep.
That's a good way to put it.
Like he's not, but he wants to be weird so bad.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Great Taylor Swift song out of it.
Sure. Fair enough. All right. Well, I think we just about wrapping up. So thank you to Sam and Anthony for being on this episode.
Of course. Thanks for having
Thanks,
us.
Ben.
No
Don't
problem.
drive angry.
Oh, I'll try not to. You can find our stuff on Linktree, linktr.ee/late to the movies, and you can find us on your podcast feed next week. Thanks for listening. And you already had a better sign off, so I'll just say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.